great morning to each and everyone. Good morning po sa mga parents, sa mga kasamahan kong guro at maging sa mga estudyante, sa mga grade 7 students. So I'm Teacher Ami or Amihan M. Gire from San Luis, Batangas, Mathematics 7 teacher. So for this week, ating pong didiscussing naman ang tungkol sa rational numbers. Week 5. Mathematics 7 first quarter. So our learning competencies expresses rational numbers from fraction form to decimal form and vice versa, and performs operations on rational numbers. Now, if we recall or to express fraction to decimal form, we follow these steps. Step number 1, find a number you can multiply by the bottom of the fraction to make it 10 or 100 or 1000 or any one follows by zeros. Or another way, in a short way, to express fraction to decimal, you just divide the numerator divided by the denominator. Then next, step number 2, multiply both top and bottom by that number. Step number 3, then write down just the top number, putting the decimal point in the correct spot. One space for the right-hand side for every zero in the bottom of the number. Example. Express 3/4 to decimal form. Pwede nating i-divide ang 3 sa 4. And we add 2 decimal places to determine the given in decimal form. Or this procedure, step number 1, we can multiply 4 and 3 by 25 to become our 100. 4 times 25 is 100. Once we multiply, any number na ating imumultiply sa isang part ng fraction ay imumultiply din natin doon sa isa pang part. Kung nag-multiply tayo ng 25 sa 4, mag-multiply din tayo ng 25 sa 3. So, step number 2, multiply top and bottom by 25. Kaya 3 times 25 is equal to 75 and 4 times 25 is equal to 100. So, 75 over 100. Then, from this, write down 75, the decimal point 2 spaces from the right because 100 has 2 zeros. Kaya, ang 3/4 is equal to 0.75. The same kung paano natin i-divide ang 3 sa 4. Magdadagdag tayo ng 2 zeros as decimal point. So, 0.75 din ang value ng 3/4 if we divide 3 and 4. Another example, to express 1/3 to decimal form. Using that rules or step number 1, there is no way to multiply 3 to become 10 or 100 or any one followed by zeros. But we can calculate an approximate decimal by choosing to multiply by, say, 333. So multiply the numerator. Step number 2, multiply top and bottom by 333 approximately. So we have 1 times 333 is 333 and 3 times 333 is equal to 999. So from this, step number 3, now 999 is nearly to 1,000. So let us write down 333 with the decimal point 3 spaces from the right because 1,000 has 3 zeros. So 1/3 is equal to 0.333, accurate to only 3 decimal places. Or divide 1 divided by 3 is still, our answer is 0.333 or repeating decimal point of 3. Next, so I hope clear po how to convert fraction to decimal. Now, to express a decimal number to a fraction, follow this step. So, decimal number naman, nagagawin nating fraction. Step number 1, write down the decimal divided by 1. Like this, decimal over 1. Step number 2, multiply both top and bottom by 10 for every number after the decimal point. Or for example, if there are two numbers after the decimal point, then use 100. If there are three, then use 1000, etc. Then number 3, simplify or reduce the fraction into lowest term. Example number 1, express 0.75 to fraction. So write down 0.75 divided by 1. So we have 0.75 divided by 1. Step number 2, dahil yan ay 2 decimal places, 2 zeros, so we multiply both numerator and denominator by 100. So we have 0.75 times 100 is 75, and 1 times 100 is equal to 100. Then, simplify the fraction by dividing by both top and bottom, or the greatest common factor or the least common factor of 75 and 100 is 25. We divide both numerator and denominator by 25. So we have 75 divided by 25 is equal to 3. And 100 divided by 25 is equal to 4. So 3/4 now is the fraction of 0.75 or 75 hundredths. Another example. Express 2.35 or 2 and 35 hundredths to a fraction. So, put the 2 aside and just work for 35 hundredths or 0.35. So, step number 1, write down 0.35 over 1. Step number 2, multiply both and the top and bottom by 100. So we have 0.35 times 100 is equal to 35, and 1 times 100 is equal to 35, to 100. So 35 over 100 is now the fraction, and we need to reduce the answer in lowest term by dividing both numerator and denominator by 5. So the least or the GCF of 35 and 100 is 5. 35 divided by 5 is 7, and 100 divided by 5 is 20. So 7 over 20 is already a lowest term, and this is now the value of 0.35. Now change into fraction. Therefore, we can conclude that 2.35 is equal to 2 as a whole number, and a fractional part is 7 over 20, and that is 0.25. So I hope clear kung paano mag-change ng decimal to fraction. Now, in our learning task, wala man nakalagay na learning task 1 yan, pwede natin siyang i-consider as learning task number 1. Translate the given statements into fractions and decimals. So, ang una ay into fraction at ang pangalawa ay into decimal. So, number 1 ay 2/10. Number 2, 3/5. Number 3, 125 thousandths. Number 4, 1/4. And number 5, 700ths. So, 2 answers for every number. Fraction first, then decimal. Now, let us define what rational number is. Rational numbers are numbers which can be written as a quotient of two numbers, A over B, where B is not equal to 0. And any rational number can be expressed in fraction form or in decimal form. That is a rational number. And converting fraction to decimal form is simplify or simply dividing the numerator by the denominator. Yun ang pinaka-shortcut kung paano natin i-change ang decimal fraction to decimal places. Express 4/5 in decimal form. So 4 divided by 5, we add 1 0 and this is 1 decimal place. So 4 divided by 5 cannot be. So but 40 divided by 5 can be, and that is 8. 8 times 5 is 40. So 0.8 or 8 tenths is the value of 4/5 in terms of decimal. Now, a decimal is expressed to fraction form by using its digits, disregarding the decimal point as the numerator and selecting the correct power of 10 as the denominator. The fraction is then expressed in simplest form. So, express 0.8 in fraction form. So, katulad kanina kung paano pwede nating i-divide o i-multiply ito by 8, by tens. So we have 0.8 times 10 all over 1 times 10. So we have 8 over 10. Then ilo-lowest term natin ang 8 over 10 para makuha natin ang katumbas na fraction ng 0.8 in decimal form. So, ang GCF ng 8 at 10 ay 2. So, 8 divided by 2 is 4 and 10 divided by 2 is equal to 5. So, therefore, 0.8 is equal to 4/5 or 4 over 5. So, I hope clear now how to convert decimal to fraction and fraction to decimal. Now, we will proceed to addition and subtraction of similar fraction. When we heard the word similar fraction, pare-parehas ang kanyang denominator. Kokopyahin lang natin ang denominator at i-add or isusubtract lang ang numerator. Then again, reduce to lowest term ang pinaka-final sum or final difference ng similar fraction. Example, 3 over 8 plus 1 over 8. Parehas silang denominator of 8. Kokopyahin natin ang denominator of 8, then i-add ang numerator. So it is equal to 3 plus 1 over 8. And 3 plus 1 is equal to 4 over 8. Ilo-lowest term natin. Ano ang pinaka-GCF ng 4 and 8? And that is 4. So 4 divided by 4 is equal to 1. And 8 divided by 4 is equal to 2. So 1/2 is the sum of 3 over 8 plus 1 over 8. Now, in subtraction, 4 over 6 minus 2 over 6. Again, parehas ang denominator. Kokopyahin natin ang denominator at isusubtract ang numerator. So, we have 4 minus 2 all over 6. And 4 minus 2 is equal to 2 over 6. Lowest term ng 2 over 6, i-divide natin ang kung ano ang GCF ng 2 and 6, that is our divisor. So, 2 ang kanyang GCF. So, therefore, 2 divided by 2 is equal to 1. And 6 divided by 2 is equal to 3. Therefore, the difference between 4 over 6 and 2 over 6 is 1/3. So, this is how to add and how to subtract similar fractions. Paano kung magkaiba naman ang denominator? So, to subtract and to add dissimilar fractions or fractions with different denominators, which is dissimilar fractions, change them to equivalent fractions by finding the least common denominator or LCD. Then apply the rules in adding and subtracting fraction with the same denominators. So, ibig sabihin, kapag magkaiba ang denominator, gagawan muna natin na maging magkaparehas ang kanilang denominator. Make the denominator or make the fraction similar fraction by finding its less common denominator. Example, 3/4 plus 1/6. Magkaibang denominator. Find the LCD of 4 and 6. Paano ba hinahanap ang least common denominator? Ano ang factors ng 4? 2 times 2. Ano ang factors ng 6? 2 times 3. Kukuhanin natin ang least common denominator niya, which is our least common multiple. And ito ay 2 times 2 times 3. So the LCD is 2 times 3 times 3 and the product is 12. So paano kukuhanin? Ito na ang magiging bago nating denominator. So we get the equivalent fraction where the denominator now is 12. To get the new numerator, divide the new denominator to the old denominator and multiply the numerator to get the new numerator. So, i-divide natin itong bagong denominator sa lumang denominator at i-multiply sa numerator para makuha natin ang bagong numerator. At ito ay, example, 12 divided by 4 is equal to 3 times the numerator of 3 is 9. So, once ating inobserve ang 9/12, that is the equivalent fraction of 3/4. Or lowest term niya ay 3/4. Next, 12 divided by 6 is 2 times 1 is 2. And 2/12, lowest term is 1/6. So, 1/6 and 2/12 are equivalent fraction. So, therefore, now, 9/12 plus 2/12 is similar fraction. We can add now or subtract the given dahil parehas na ang kanilang denominator. Copy the common denominator of 12 and add the numerator 9 plus 2 and 9 plus 2 is equal to 11 over the common denominator of 12. So the sum of 3/4 plus 1/6 is equal to 11/12. So, ito ay already lowest term. Hindi na natin siyang kailangan i-simplify dahil simplified ang 11/12. So, I hope clear po kung paano mag-add ng dissimilar fraction. Gagawin muna natin siyang similar fraction before adding and subtracting fractions. Another example, subtract 4/8 minus 5/12. Again, find the least common multiple or least common denominator of 8 and 12. Again, what are the factors of 8? 2 times 2 times 2 and the factors of 12 are 2 times 2 times 3. So, ano ang LCD? Tatlong 2 ang imumultiply at 3. So, therefore, the LCM or LCD is 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 is equal to 24. Ito yung bagong denominator para maging similar fraction ang given. So again, divide the denominator of 24 to the old denominator and multiply the numerator to get the new numerator. So 24 divided by 8 is 3 times 4 is 12. And 4/8 is the equivalent fraction of 12/24. 24 divided by 12 is 2 times 5 is 10. Now, parehas na silang ng denominator. Kopyahin natin ang common denominator. Then we can subtract now the numerator. 12 minus 10 is equal to 2. And 2/24 can be simplified by finding the GCF. And we divide both numerator and denominator by 2 to find the final or the simplest form of the difference of the given fraction. So 2 divided by 2 is equal to 1 and 24 divided by 2 is equal to 12. Therefore, the difference of 4 minus 8 and 5/12, 4/8 and 5/12 is 1/12. So I hope clear po, maliwanag kung paano mag-add at mag-subtract ng dissimilar fraction. kailangan gagawin munang similar fraction by finding the least common denominator and get the new fraction or equivalent fraction na parehas na ang kanilang denominator to add and subtract fractions. Now, let us proceed to multiplication of fraction. To multiply rational numbers in fraction form, simply multiply the numerators and multiply the denominators and simplify the fraction or the product. So in symbol, a over x times c over d is equal to a times c and multiply the denominator db where b and d are not equal to 0. Example, multiply 3/4 times 5 over 6. So, multiply the numerators. 3 times 5 is equal to 15. All over the denominator, 4 times 6 is equal to 24. Then, observe kung pwede natin i-simplify ang fraction. Get the greatest common factor and the GCF of 15 and 24 is 3. It means we divide both numerator and denominator by 3. So, 15 divided by 3 is 5 and 24 divided by 3 is equal to 8. Therefore, the product of 3/4 and 5 over 6 is equal to 5 over 8. Now, if the given is improper or mixed numbers, express the mixed number as improper fraction. Bago tayo mag-multiply, i-change muna natin ang mixed number to improper fraction by multiplying the denominator and the whole number and add to the numerator to get the to have a numerator and copy the denominator. 4 times 2 is 8 plus 1 is 9 over 4. 6 times 5 is 30 plus 4 is 34 over the denominator of 6. Now, apply the rules in multiplication, multiply the numerators, and multiply the denominators. So, 9 times 34 is equal to 306. And 4 times all over, 4 times 6 is equal to 24. Find the GCF of 306 and 24 as a divisor of 306 and 24. So, factors ng 306 ay 2 times 3 times 3 times 17 and factors of 24 is 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. Ano ang parehas nilang mayroong factors? Ito ay ang 2 at ang 3. So, 2 times 3 is equal to 6. So, ang ating i-divide both the numerator and denominator is 6. Therefore, 306 divided by 6 is equal to 51 and 24 divided by 6 is equal to 4. Then, change, pwede na ito yung ating sagot o pwede natin siyang i-mix fraction. In terms of mixed fraction, the equivalent mixed fraction of 51 over 4 or 51 divided by 4 is equal to 12 and 3/4. So 12, we have a remainder of 3 and copy a denominator of 4. So the quotient, the product of 2 and 1/4 and 5 and 4/6 is equal to 12 and 3/4. So I hope clear, maliwanag po kung paano po tayo magmumultiply ng fractions. Simple fraction and the mixed number. So the same also in division of fraction. And division of fraction or rational numbers. To divide rational numbers in fraction form, you take the reciprocal of the second fraction called the divisor and multiply it by the first fraction. Ibig sabihin, ay ating i-reciprocal ang divisor at ang operation papalitan nating multiplication and we follow of course multiplication of fraction or rational numbers. Example, 8 divided by b A over V divided by C over D is equal to, yung division ay magiging multiplication at ang divisor na C over D ay gagawin natin o kukuhanin ang kanya reciprocal kaya maging D over C. Then apply multiplication of fraction or rational number. A times D is AD and B times C is equal to BC, where B and C are not equal to 0. Example, divide 4 over 5 divided by 2/3. So, kopyahin natin si 4 over 5 at itong division magiging multiplication at ang reciprocal ng 2 over 3 ay 3 over 2. Change the divisor to its reciprocal and change the operation to multiplication of fraction. So, 4 over 5 divided by 2/3 is equal to 4/5 times 3 over 2. Then apply, multiply the numerators and multiply the denominators. 4 times 3 is equal to 12 all over 5 times 2 is equal to 10, and simplify again our answer by dividing both numerator and denominator by its GCF, and that is 2. So 12 divided by 2 is equal to 6 and 10 divided by 2 is equal to 5. So pwede ito na yung ating sagot o ang kanyang mixed fraction o mixed number is 1 and 1/5. Now, in our learning task 2, perform the indicated operation. 1, 2, 3 is addition. Number 1, the denominator are not the same. So, get first the LCD. Gagawin muna natin magkaparehas ang denominator bago tayo mag-add ng numerator and copy the common denominator. Also, number 2 and number 3. Also, number 4 and number 5. Hindi dissimilar fraction din siya. Again, find the LCD of number 4 and number 5. Make the fraction similar first before adding and before subtracting. That is 1 to 5. Now, number 6 and number 7 is multiplication. Also, number 10, gawin muna itong improper fraction bago mag-multiply ang numerator at mag-multiply ng denominator. Then, simplify your answer. Next, number 8 and number 9 is division. So, gagawin itong multiplication at ito ang reciprocal. Babaliktarin ang divisor. Ganon din sa number 9. Then apply, multiply the numerators, multiply the denominators, and simplify your answer. So I hope clear po kung ano po ang gagawin natin sa ating learning task number 2. In learning task number 3, problem solving. It took Jose 2/3 of an hour to complete his math homework on Monday and 3/4 of an hour on Tuesday and 2/5 of an hour on Wednesday. So how many hours did it take to complete his work all together? So madali lang yan. Gagawin nyo lang 2/3 and so on. Then, fractional ang inyong pag-a-add equals to 1 over x. So, di ba, 2/3 plus ganun-galan. Next, number 2, Mika has 3 and 7/16 cm of wire. She needs only 2 and 5/8 cm of wire for her project in TLE. How much wire does she need to cut? So you just kitang-kita kung ano po ang gagawin. Mika has 3 and 7/16 cm of wire. And she needs only 2 and 5/8 cm of wire for her project in TLE. So how much wire does she need to cut? And number 3, at Guevara Clan Reunion, 4.5 kilograms of spaghetti was left. If there are 6 families, how much each family can take home equally? So, careful in answering the problems or numbers 1 to 3. So try to read and understand first the lesson. Ano yung given, ano ba ang tinatanong, ano ang gagamiting operation. So still, we use to answer the problem involving fraction or rational numbers. So I hope clear po at maliwanag sa bawat isa ang lesson natin for this week about rational numbers. So, pwede po ninyong balikan, ulitin ang video para mas clear at mas maayos po nating masagutan ang ating mga learning tasks. I hope malaking help po ulit ang video ito upang higit na natin na naunawaan ang lesson natin for this week about rational numbers. Again, thank you for your time and watching. Happy learning to all. Keep safe, everyone. God bless.